Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, as we have the opportunity today to travel around our county and find out what's happening in the different departments. We have the wonderful pleasure of meeting and talking with Dr. Mike Looney. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Mayor. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you and talk about school business.
I'm afraid to say what school year we're in now. I think it's the 15-16.
We are in 2015-16. It's hard to believe. Time sure does fly. We've got a bumper crop of new students as well.
And when you say bumper crop, what are we talking about? New children that are coming in over last year? And I understand after Labor Day we really get a hard number.
Right. We're about 1,200 students over what we had last year. We're 202 students over our projection, and that number continues to grow. So continued strains on the infrastructure of the district and trying to find high quality teachers and support staff members and bus drivers to support the work of our school district and our families.
Speaking of bus drivers, let's try to hit that a couple of times. People watch this show. I know you have a shortage for bus drivers.
We're in desperate need of additional bus drivers. As we get more students, we have to run more bus routes. The reality of it is, we pay $14 and some change an hour as a beginning bus driver, but it's hard to find people that are willing to take on that responsibility of driving kids every morning and afternoon. It's just a tough job, and so we're making a plea to everybody that we can make a plea to. Please consider being a part-time bus driver, a full-time bus driver. It's actually a great job, and so I think if people realize that we will actually send someone through the entire training process. So all you have to do is have a clean background. When I say clean, no criminal convictions and no DUIs, and a standard driver's license. We'll take someone from a standard driver's license to a commercial driver's license with bus certification. We pay $10 an hour through the training process, which is about 30 days full time, and then we'll give them their own bus to be proud of, and they can transport some lovely children to school.
And they do get benefits to a certain degree.
It's actually part-time work with full-time benefits. Mm-hmm. So you got medical, you got retirement benefits, and once again, it's a rewarding experience. I rode a bus just the other day with a bus driver, and it's really cool to see the kids get on the bus excited in the morning, go home, and then in the afternoon they tell the bus driver everything they did during the day. So it's a great job, and we have a shortage of those individuals. So please come join us.
Let's talk about the acclimates that were just issued. The ACT test scores came out. I had the opportunity to listen to you talk to one of the chamber meetings, and you were just ecstatic.
If I could point to one thing that I'm perhaps most proud of, it likely would be our ACT results, because it makes such a huge impact on the lives of our students post-high school. This year we boast an incredible 23.8 average ACT score, which is the highest in the district's history. And what that really means is more kids get to go to college with financial support, so mom and dad don't have to provide it. And kids are getting accepted into better colleges. We have kids that go from Harvard, Tennessee, University of Alabama. It doesn't matter. They can
Harvard and Tennessee.
Harvard. That's the process. Harvard. You notice I was being graceful. I put Tennessee after Harvard and then Alabama. So, but the bottom line is they get to go to the school of their choice with financial support, which is always great. And just really, really proud of our students, the parents, and the teachers for getting that work done. And I'll tell you, Mayor, the future looks really, really bright. Our current senior cohort, their average ACT composite right now today is a 23.5. And so we typically grow about a half a percentage point or a half a point every year. So I think hopefully we're going to break the 24 mark this year, which has been our strategic plan goal for a number of years. And so I think we're actually going to hit that this year a little bit earlier than projected. Our kids are doing really well academically.
I've heard you say before, there's 2 points I want to make. One is the total amount of dollar scholarships issued to Williamson County, or not issued, but offered to our children. Right. It was just an astronomical number. And before I forget it, to talk about the way that this state, not just our county, takes the ACT. It's everyone, as opposed to some states outside the state of Tennessee, they only take them for those children or boys and girls that are moving on to college.
Absolutely. I'll start with the latter part. I think Massachusetts last year they tested 23% of their graduating class on the ACT, and their average ACT composite was somewhere around a 26. We test 100% of our students in Williamson County and in the state of Tennessee, and so we do very, very well. even though that all of our students take the test, even those students that don't want to go to college or they have other interests. So if we were to just take our top 23% and compare that to any other state's performance, I think jaws would drop all across the region because our students do very, very well. And that manifests itself into college scholarship offers. Last year's graduating cohort, this number is staggering to me, $135.9 million of college scholarship offers. And if you look at even longer term, I gave this stat out the other day, in the course of my tenure here, we will have accumulated more than $1 billion in college scholarship offers to our students, and that's very exciting.
Well, and I think a lot of people do not realize that, of course, your main thrust, we spend 90% of our conversation on the academic side. And the importance of that, and that is critical mass. As you and I both know, we've gotten older because we played baseball or whatever hobby or habit we had as a younger person, that soon fizzles out.
Right.
And when you talk about those academic and athletic scholarships, it's an amazing number, because that's kind of some of the, I won't say the cornerstones of good education, but academics is just, athletics is just as important as the arts, and the arts are just as important as academics. And when you start putting all this in that big old huge bowl full of opportunities for children here in Williamson County, it's phenomenal.
Well, I think it's why people move here, because we do have a balanced approach to educating our students: academics, athletics, and the arts. They're three critical, important pieces to our strategic plan, and we invest and put a lot of energy in it. And thank you and to the county commission. As a representative of that, we just built a number of theaters across the district. We have some other ones that are going to be being built in the near future, and so it's true, people move here because of the whole package: academics, arts, and athletics. We have people that play on the national stages anywhere in the world, or national stages and anywhere in the world, performing various feats and numbers and performances, and we have students that play at the highest level in athletics. I'm amazed. This year we actually have our own fencing team in Fairview, and so I suspect we'll have some future Olympians coming out of Fairview, Tennessee. They're learning the art of fencing, and so good stuff happening in our district.
Well, and I heard the opportunity to hear your principal from Fairview speak just the other day, and she was so enthusiastic and so proud of the accomplishments over the last 3 or 4 years, and sometimes Fairview, I think personally, gets a bad rap, but it's good leadership through her direction out there as the principal and her staff that she's assimilated. And it's one of the few school systems that you can literally start at the elementary school in Fairview, go through the middle school at Fairview Middle, and get on into the high school. That's not always accomplished in other areas. But the things that she's been able to direct, I was just so impressed with her hard work and her enthusiasm. But by the same token, if there's career paths outside of the sports and academic that she's offering, they're offering, we're offering at our Fairview High School.
Right. Actually, you can walk away from Fairview High School with an associate's degree in mechatronics. And so Dr. Oyer and her team out there are doing marvelous things. And what you're seeing happening in Williamson County schools is we're really focusing on building relevance in the educational opportunities for students. And so mechatronics at Fairview High School. When Nolensville High School opens up, we're working right now with the FAA to offer a specialty in operating and building and designing drones. So right here in the public school setting. So if you need pictures made of your house when you're putting it on the market, we can fly a drone over the house and get it ready for the market. So a lot of good things happening in Williamson County schools, and more good things to come.
Speaking of Nolensville's new school, actually 1 year from this month, we will open 2 schools in Nolensville.
I tell you what, and that community is absolutely ecstatic. Bill Harlan and Kari Miller are the principals that have been named for those schools. They're working out there in the community, engaging the community. It's rare to find that kind of excitement and anticipation. I think it's a long time coming for that community to have what they believe are going to be their own community schools, and I'm excited about it. And the construction is on the fast track. They're doing really good stuff out there right now, It looks like just a a large spaceship landed out there out in the middle of Nolensville. Some beautiful schools going in. We're going to add a lot of very much needed capacity for our students.
When we look into the crystal ball of those things that are occurring in Williamson County, and the number one thing that we hear over and over and over, whether it's through economic development or any other avenue, is that people move here for our schools.
Yes, sir.
They are very proud of it. Those items that we take for granted every day, our clothes, our food, they're about the same price of any area that you may move into in the state of Tennessee. But that first initial step off into purchasing a house, of land in Williamson County is certainly more than you're going to see in some of the other surrounding areas. But people make a choice of where they want to live, just like they make a choice in where they will send their children to school. We're seeing more people make the comment, I would rather invest in my house and land because it's appreciating, because the appreciation value is tied to the growth, and the growth is to the
Right.
schools and jobs and excuse me, those different things that come in. In the next 5 years, if things hold up the way they are, the job markets are continually being reevaluated, but people are relocating here. How do we keep up with all this growth, Dr. Looney? How do we keep building $25 and the $50 million school buildings when you worry about, well, at some point they're going to become vacant? That's not occurring, hasn't occurred. But do we look at other avenues? Do we start looking at multi-using our buildings more than they actually are? What are some of the things that we?
Well,
can
I do think we're approaching a juncture, and that is we're going to have to think about how do we manage growth smartly and purposefully, because we don't want it to be unbridled growth, obviously. And so, as a school district, we're starting to have conversations about how do we look at the resources that we have, and use them more and differently. So I don't have an easy answer. I do know this, that in the next 4 or 5 years, our student population is going to exceed 40,000, which turns us from being a medium-sized district into a large district. And we're growing more in diversity. More and more people that are moving to the community are people with different backgrounds, just as people of color, people of different economic means. And so dealing with growth and dealing with increased diversity is going to be really important. And dealing with in addition to the schools, dealing with the transportation infrastructure that's going to be required for us to get people to and from school and work. So we are going to have to think differently. And so, the only thing I know, Mayor, is we have to continue our partnership. This is going to take a community-wide effort. And let's face it, a lot of people that live in Williamson County don't have kids in the public schools or in schools generally. And so, the question becomes, well, why should I have to pay for those things? And the reality of it is the schools, drive property values and drive quality of life in Williamson County. And so, the students that have afternoon jobs, they're the people that work at the drive-through or the movie theater, or lots of places in Williamson County. And so we need to equip our children to make sure that our futures are brighter as we grow in age.
Well, and I think it's also important to always realize, and I know there's people that watch this show that are on fixed incomes, and it's very difficult for them to have to come up with that property tax bill, and everyone in Williamson County across this state by law is required to pay their property taxes. We're going to continue to see, I think, businesses move into our area. There'll be some people that will choose to go to private school, which is fine. That's an individual choice. I think, though, what you can get here in our school system is second to none of public education across this state. And that plays out well with the business community. How we deal with all that will be some of the things that you do have to deal with, and your school board has to deal with, is zoning, where children are. But we're doing a better job, not we, you and your staff are doing a better job in trying to find those locations where schools are better situated. Also, trying to find land, trying to find locations that we don't have to build roads and where we can get public utilities in there.
Right.
Whereas 20 years ago when I was around at that period of time, oftentimes somebody would sell us a 25 to 50 acre field that we would spend a lot of money getting it prepared. Now we spend a lot of money in checking it out and seeing, is it the best location for us? At the end of the day, though, most of the growth that occurs in our counties within those city limits, within the municipalities.
Right.
And oftentimes, working with our cities like you do, helping us to reduce those water fees, tap fees, those road impact fees that quite frankly, I've always thought that it's almost like double taxation. And so when cities offer up, and I would get some arguments from my city partners from that by making that statement, but they're part of that process. One of the fees that we have, you don't pay it and I don't pay it, is on new construction. It's called adequate school facility tax. It's based on new square footage, and a certain percentage of that money goes back to the cities. We're doing a little education here. All of our cities try to participate and help where they can, but it may be we're going to have to push that envelope a little bit more because it is from public safety, fire, and ambulances, all of those things in order to hold those taxes low to continue to attract. I think also one of the things is look at some avenues that new people move in. They may have to pay a little bit more than what the existing people.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. If apartment complexes or new homes are coming in, that creates a need for additional capacity in school buildings. We'll have to build schools, and then for us to have to, pitch in for tap fees and fees that go back to the municipality that really are the ones that created the growth by adding homes, I think is an important conversation for us to have. And quite frankly, we have some of our municipalities that are really, really good partners with us. And then we have some other municipalities that are good partners with us, but feel it's very appropriate for them to charge fees to the school district. I think the bigger issue really is how do we work together strategically to make sure that we're thinking about when new developments come in, what the impact is on the school infrastructure and how are we going to manage increasing that capacity. And so that might be, when homes go in, additional fees are associated with that. It also puts some, responsibility on the school board and myself to figure out how are we going to make sure that we use the resources that we do have to the fullest extent possible without adding additional, capital expenses. And we're doing that. We're going to be doing a much better job of that in the years to come. I'm looking forward to some growth conversations with a lot of different stakeholders in the community. This is probably our biggest challenge, dealing with growth. But it's a blessing, right? It could be a lot worse. We could be having people run away and our property values in sharp decline. That happens all across America as a result of poor quality schooling. So we're blessed, but that blessing comes with challenges.
So as you look into that crystal ball, we'll continue that conversation. We know that the growth is occurring in Nolensville. We know that growth is occurring in our Spring Hill area. I also see heavy numbers coming out of Brentwood and Franklin with a lot of backfill subdivisions.
Right.
Subdivisions like where I used to live that I've moved, and someone comes back in and purchases that home, puts a fresh coat of paint on it, fixes another bedroom, and boom. All of a sudden you've got 2 to 3 more children living in a house since my children have left. We're seeing that all over, and particularly I won't say particularly, but certainly one of those communities I'm very familiar with, the Scales.
Right.
Where there's a lot of the older neighborhoods, I say older, 20, 25, 30 years old. Sure. But some of those neighborhoods are very attractive for young couples to be able to move into. Really
attractive, and there's really no way for us to forecast that housing churn that's going to happen when empty nesters decide to downsize and new folks move in and they have young children that are going to be school age, and they're moving in specifically because of the reputation of our school district. This is the only place I've ever lived where I check my mail and occasionally I get in my mailbox and offer to buy my home. I've never seen anything like it. I had a good friend that sold his home in 3 days. So it's really incredible what's happening in Williamson County. And once again, it creates a tremendous challenge for us, but it's a challenge that we can handle if we just work together and are diligent, conservative, but also proactive.
Looking into this school year, hired about 150 new teachers,
correct.
I think, plus or minus, based on 1,000 to 1,200 new children. Going to be an interesting year, not only from football. Already we're a couple of games into the season, and we're seeing some very strong powerhouse football teams.
They emerged real quickly, didn't they?
Which is good if you're involved in sports, and it's good for team camaraderie.
Sure.
It's good for our community to have the Ravenwoods and the Brentwoods kind of clash. Certainly Franklin's going to clash with Brentwood all the time. Now you've got Centennial, and Independence is no slouch this year.
No, Independence has some top tier athletes there this year, and they're going to go on to play at the next level, and they're going to be a force to reckon with this year.
This year, from a standpoint of some challenges for you during the school year, what are they?
Well, we're going to be coming back to the commission, unfortunately, asking for additional staff and resources to deal with the additional students that were beyond our projections. So dealing with that within the physical limitations that we all deal with, just like we deal with our homes. We're putting a lot of energy in the bus situation and how do we improve that for the community that we serve. We want our students to be able to get to school in a timely way without overcrowding. And honestly, we want to contribute, not add to the challenges around transportation in our community. So dealing with that, and then the elephant in the room is how are we going to handle the zoning of our schools moving forward? And so I don't have the answer to that. I know the school board is going to be engaged in some deliberations in the months to come to come up with a long-term plan about how we manage growth within our school district. So
Funding has been approved for auditoriums.
yes, sir.
Our arts programs, our music, our fine arts, and many other things occur at these auditoriums that we put in at the schools. I know they'll be welcomed with both arms opened up to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the community's facilities, not just the school's facilities, and so we have a process for the community to ask to use those facilities. And just as importantly, those are additional learning spaces for our students, right? So as pressure grows about where do we find instructional spaces, not only are we getting a theater and an auditorium, but we're also getting instructional spaces to use during the day. So that's a critical piece.
All your principal positions are filled.
They're all filled. We have amazing leaders in our schools. We're blessed. They're hardworking people. When I'm doing my Sunday drive, I ride around, and it's amazing the number of cars in the school parking lot that I see on Sunday afternoon. People getting ready for Monday morning.
When I think about what you have to manage, it's a system of unbelievable numbers.
36,000 plus.
Plus.
Right.
Staff, children, bus drivers, and by the way, we still need bus drivers.
Yes, sir.
We want to throw that in again. I'm amazed at how you're able to balance it, and that only comes through because there's only so many spots you can be at. Having good men and women in positions out there, you've got a good team, a good staff, but they're very passionate of what not only they're not just there for the paycheck, because they could leave and go someplace else and make just as much money, if not more. Right. But it's a passion they have that they're putting children first.
Well, that and I'll tell you, they absolutely love this community. They love the district and they love the students that we serve, but they also love this community. And so their mindset is, how do I improve the quality of life through the public education system in Williamson County, and they are devoted to that. They're relentless.
They are that. Dr. Looney, we've got about a little less than 4 minutes. I'm sure that I've overlooked something that you would like to touch on, or at least throw the ball up in the air and bat it around a little bit. That's very important to you, or something that you need. I know we haven't talked about cows.
Right. Well, we are in the midst of a COW initiative, which is Computers on Wheels, and so we're trying to equip our students with the latest tools they need to be successful. Teaching and learning have changed, and today, to be successful in the public school setting, you need to be digitally competent and knowledgeable about how to use those tools. So we're trying to equip our students with those tools in our classrooms. So we're working on that, and certainly people can go online and figure out how they can contribute to cows. Thank you for taking the milk challenge. That's been a lot of fun. And so, you know, the reality of it is, I would like to just encourage those people that don't have children in our school system to consider going online and following what we're doing with our In Focus newsletter, which is an email subscription newsletter about what's happening in the school district. And then I'd like to call attention to our governor's Drive to 55 campaign. I know that you have been an active participant in the mentoring process. The reality of it is we have students that desperately need good role models and mentors. And so, you know, if someone has 20 minutes a week or 30 minutes a week or an hour a week to become a mentor for a young man or a woman that's getting ready to go out into the world of the real world, as we call it, you know, college or the world of work, they certainly could use that. And so I guess my appeal would consider donating a computer or a Chromebook to a student in our district, and consider spending some time with them, mentoring. I think people would be amazed at the intellect and passion and excitement that our students have to be contributors in our society.
Well, and I think one of the things that oftentimes I fail to realize is just how valuable, once you start getting some gray hair, you are back to your community. The fastest growing segment of our community over the next 10 to 15 years, people are telling us it's the baby boomers that are getting into age 60, 65 and on up. Those men and women that have put in a good career, that have time, they move back here to be with those grandkids or to be with their children. They have a wonderful opportunity to pick up that phone and call and contribute back to our schools. And it's amazing, just simply amazing, to have a good businessman or a good businesswoman go into a classroom and train the trainers, I call it, train those future generations.
Right. Well, our Be Nice motto works, right? Because we need to be nice to the young ones now, because they're going to take care of us at a later time.
I hope so. I do hope so. Well, our time has run out, and again, I want to thank you for everything you do in Williamson County. You are you're on top of the radar, but you're below the radar and getting so many things done for our kids, and some of the things you're doing, and the school board's direction, and all those teachers and the leadership that they're providing really won't show up for another 5 and 10 and sometimes 20 years out. But we're beginning to see the end process with a good workforce, and people are now able to move back to Williamson County and call it their home and start their families. Thanks for being with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm Rogers Anderson. Have a good day.